Mr. Secretary, I'm going to start the questions this morning with accountability, a theme that this panel has talked about repeatedly, and clarity in government policy. So here's the question I want to start with. The auto industry has received taxpayer money, but it has been linked to changes in management, changes in business practices, breaking labor contracts, and causing bondholders to take losses at a minimum. The banks have received 10 times more money than the auto industry, and yet they seem to be receiving a very different treatment. So the question I have is why the different treatment, and in particular, do you think that the banks are better managed than the auto companies were?
Very important question and a reasonable question. So let me say a few things in response. First of all, everything we're trying to do to get the financial system working again is important to the success of the restructuring, rehabilitation of our automobile industry. It's true for the economy as a whole and the industry in the United States. Without a financial system that is working to provide credit, you're going to see much more damage, much more challenge, much greater headwinds for businesses across the country. The approach we've taken, second basic point. If you step back, we're 5 quarters into this recession, and we're at least that long into this substantial dramatic adjustment we saw following this unprecedented financial boom. So there has been very, very dramatic restructuring already across the financial system. If you just look at the largest institution in the world that existed 2 years ago and look at how many exist today, there's been very dramatic restructuring. Third point, as your colleagues said at the beginning, in assessing what was necessary going forward to solve the problems we inherited, we made it clear that where we're going to provide capital in the future, we want to target it to where it's necessary. We want to do it on a differentiated basis. We don't want to do it with conditions, not unconditionally, but with conditions, not just to help protect the taxpayer, but try to help ensure that the system emerges stronger, not weaker. That's a very important principle. And we've said, the President said publicly, that where we provide exceptional assistance, because that's necessary to make sure there's capital in the system, it will come with conditions to make sure there's restructuring accountability to make sure these firms emerge stronger in the future. Now,
so let me just make sure I'm understanding you to this point. I just want to be sure that I'm following here. Are you saying that the difference in treatment between how the banks were treated and how the auto industry has been treated is effectively one of timing, and that going forward the banks will be treated with the same kind of accountability at a minimum that's been demanded from the auto industry?
Well, I'm trying to be candid. These are they're different challenges. They require different solutions, but there's less difference than your question suggests. Just to cite a couple examples. If you look at where the government had to act early and substantial force in some of the largest and weakest part of the system, in that context, both in the context of Fannie and Freddie and the context of AIG, we were very clear that the conditions in that context came with changes in board and management for exactly the reasons you said. Now, there's been...
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I'm following. You're saying that there have been changes in management
where the government
at the financial institutions
Absolutely.
That have received TARP funds?
Well, as I said, in the context of the interventions taken in Fannie and Freddie and AIG, just to cite 3 examples.
I'm asking about the financial institutions.
Well, those are financial institutions.
I'm asking about the banks.
But the principle is important in this case. And as I said, the President said this publicly, I've said it publicly. Going forward, where institutions need exceptional levels of assistance, we will make sure that assistance comes with conditions that provide for the necessary degree of accountability, help ensure these firms emerge stronger rather than weaker. And that's an important principle. We're committed to do it. Now, what is necessary in each specific case is a judgment we're going to have to make. But I think that's a very important principle. It's at the core of our program.